It's true, yes. So the earliest you could expect to see some data is probably mid to late October. Our base case view continues to be that we would expect to see solid efficacy data sometime in November. And that basically corresponds to about 60 to 70% efficacy for vaccines if we get something in November. If you were to see something in October, it would mean the vaccines are probably more than 70% effective.
So let's say we get data delivery on that timeline. How long would you expect the FDA to take their time evaluating and eventually provide an emergency use authorization?
Right. So our view is about a month is going to take for the FDA to review the data. There have been a handful of reports around what the criteria that the FDA is going to apply for an emergency use authorization. And the biggest one of the timeline there is that they're going to ask for 2 months of median safety follow-up, which for most of these players puts them sometime in the second half of November towards having that data. So our expectations is a month after the second half of November. So sometime late in the year is probably when you could have an emergency use authorization.
And Matthew, given that timeline and everything that you're hearing beyond it, what's your best guess as to the earliest we could have a vaccine available at scale? And if it's multiple cycles, the earliest when people would have finished taking that vaccine at scale?
Right. No, two important questions. So for broad approval outside of, say, an emergency use authorization, which could be for a select group of patients, the FDA is asking for 6 months of safety follow-up. So that puts you sometime in the second quarter of 2021, most likely for broad authorization. In terms of scale-up, that timeline fits well with scale-up, where companies will be producing somewhere on order of 50 to 100 million doses per month, probably in that time period. So you should have broad availability of the vaccine plus a broad approval in that time frame. And then our expectation would be by the summer of 2021 is when you could have a broad portion of the population vaccinated.
Matthew, just to follow up on John's question specifically about the dosages, how many of these vaccines are dual dose vaccines, and how much does that complicate the deployment of this, especially as you look at just the logistical challenges of even getting out one dose of these vaccines?
So all of the leading vaccines are 2 doses. Currently, only Johnson's & Johnson's, which is in clinical studies, which just started recently, is a single or potentially a single dose. So all of these would require 2 doses separated by about a month. And as you point out, right, I mean, that will be a challenge because you're going to have to get people back in for that second dose. And even vaccines that are available right now, which require multiple doses, you tend to lose 10 to 20% of the people taking the vaccine by the time you get to that second dose.
I had not heard that before. Matthew, I wish we could have you on every day with updates, but we hope to talk to you again at the earliest opportunity. Thanks for that. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks very much.
Matthew Harris.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.